JB's personal perspectives.
Speaker, in areas like extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits for 3 years so that more than 20 million people would be able to afford to go see a doctor when they need one. We did that successfully. We were able to push back against a Trump executive order that wiped away collective bargaining rights for more than 1 million different federal employees. We were able to restore temporary protected status for Haitian migrants. We did that with Democratic support, joined by a handful of Republicans. And of course, most recently on the floor this week, over the objection of Donald Trump and Mike Johnson again, we were able to pass a war powers resolution to try to end this reckless war of choice that Donald Trump has gotten us into in Iran. And at the same period of time, to try to impose sanctions on Donald Trump's buddies over in Russia, starting with Vladimir Putin and the oligarchs connected to the Kremlin.
Now, with Republicans divided and public opinion turning against them, we would appear to be poised for a massive Democratic wave election, were it not for Republicans' efforts to suppress the vote and change the maps in order to cling to power. We saw that effort get a clear boost from the conservative Supreme Court's ruling this week, citing the colorblind Constitution while allowing Alabama to go back to using an old electoral map previously ruled to be racially discriminatory. The text of the decision suggests the High Court sees only a limited role in overseeing state electoral policies now that it has gutted Voting Rights Act protections. What's the impact of all of this in your view, and how will Democrats overcome it?
Well, we're going to take back control of the House of Representatives. We'll need to flip about 6 or 8 seats at the end of the day when it comes to this upcoming midterm election. And as House Democrats, we'll continue to make our case to the American people that we're fighting to lower the high cost of living, to fix our broken healthcare system, and to clean up the corruption that's out of control in Washington, D.C., of course, including the Trump cartel, which continues to try to run the largest pay-to-play scheme in the history of the country. This Supreme Court decision was particularly outrageous because it overturned a decision by a 3-judge panel in Alabama that declared the map that Republicans were trying to use as racially discriminatory and in violation not just of the Voting Rights Act, but of the 14th Amendment. Those 3 judges were appointed by Donald Trump in 2 instances, and in the other instance by Ronald Reagan. And yet this court ignores the facts, ignores the law, ignores the Constitution, because Supreme Court right-wing justices have become basically functional operatives for the Republican Party. That all said, we believe we're on track to winning control of the House of Representatives. We're going to make our case to the people. We need an overwhelming electoral response from people all across the country, and we're seeing signs of that as we travel America.
So it's going to come down to turnout in many of these areas. And staying with redistricting, you and the Congressional Black Caucus have joined the call for black athletes to boycott SEC schools as a way to call out southern states for their erasure of black political representation. What can you tell us about how this effort and other efforts are going, and what have you heard from young athletes and from people in these states saying that it's time to penalize people that would in ways redraw lines that are racially set up?
Yeah, I stood with Derek Johnson, the NAACP, the civil rights community, and the Congressional Black Caucus in support of this effort to make it clear. If there's going to be no electoral participation for African American communities because the Supreme Court, in gutting the Voting Rights Act, has unleashed these Jim Crow-like tactics that Republicans in southern states immediately seized upon to try to rip away the opportunity for African American communities to elect the candidates of their choice. If there's going to be no electoral participation in these states, there should be no athletic participation at the same period of time. And there are a lot of options for young African American athletes. I know these are personal choices, but as you know, Rev, and you've worked with a lot of the athletes throughout the years, throughout the decades, who have stepped into the social and racial justice space, we see this as a Muhammad Ali moment. It's a Jackie Robinson moment. It's a Bill Russell moment.
And we hope they will step up and do that. And rally people. You joining us August 28th, Martin Luther King III and Andrew King and I, the March on Washington. We have to keep rallying people. But let's stick with sports a minute. The Knicks are up 2-0 in the finals, and it's the first appearance in nearly 30 years. President Trump plans to attend Game 3 at the Garden on Monday, maybe even Game 4. You said he should stay home and let New Yorkers enjoy the game in peace. I want to play an exchange the president had with a Bloomberg reporter about why many fans won't be able to experience the series the way he will. Take a listen.
Did you hear? All dominoes.
Or do you think that the game you're going to, the cheapest price for the game that you're going to is $8,000. Every day you better be fucking smart.
I know, but they can watch it on television. It's sort of semi-free to watch it on television, but that's the way life goes.
Now, I had Spike Lee here last week. I have friends that have tickets. I may or may not go to the third or fourth game. But to act like it's nothing expense of these tickets, the Knicks are hot tickets, obviously. But the president doesn't seem very concerned about why so many things feel out of reach for working Americans. Right now, does he seem like there's any empathy there at all?
There's zero empathy, and he's repeatedly made clear he doesn't give a damn about the well-being, the quality of life, or the personal finances, as he indicates. He didn't give a damn about the personal finances of the American people, and he continues to lean in to that particular narrative. And listen, the economy is broken. The cost of living is out of control. He's ripping health care away from the American people. He's gotten us into this reckless and costly failed war of choice in the Middle East. And he wants to inject himself, parachute in to Madison Square Garden when Knicks fans are trying to enjoy this moment in peace after 27 years of not being in the NBA Finals.
Finally, Leader Jeffries, we are about to speak with your New Jersey colleague, Congresswoman LaMonica McIver, next. I know you were both able to enter the Delaney's ICE Center Detention Center in Newark last week to conduct oversight and place some pressure on Homeland Security Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen to address the situation during the hearings this week. Last night, there were new clashes between demonstrators and private prison employees outside the facility after the city pulled back their police presence there. What needs to happen inside
This is a disgrace.
and outside Delaney Hall, in your view?
Well, we need Delaney Hall to be closed. It is not a facility that operates consistent with American values. We believe that immigration enforcement should be fair, just, and humane. As Representative McIver, who's been leading this effort, has forcefully articulated,
Pretty much everything Trump does is a disgrace.
all are abhorrent. And in talking to people who've been detained there, in some instances, for months, that was clear to me. The reality is you have insufficient nutrition, you have insufficient medical assistance, insufficient and unsanitary living conditions. And it's because I believe that this facility, like many others, is a for-profit facility. And so corners seem to be cut in order to maximize profits. And that's not the type of country that we should live in. And look, on the outside, we want to continue to urge people to peacefully demonstrate and protest, exercise your First Amendment rights as they exist in terms of freedom of expression and freedom of speech and freedom of assembly. But, do that in a manner that doesn't allow for the other side of the aisle to try to distract from the conditions that exist that we're trying to change.
And that's all it will do if you play into their hands. The cause should stand for itself because it's a just cause, in my opinion. Thank you, Democratic Leader of the House, Congressman.
Yeah, they want people to fight back so they could claim.
Congresswoman, we were just talking with the House Minority Leader Jeffries about the situation at
They riding.
ICE Detention Center in Newark, New Jersey. Last night, 5 demonstrators were arrested during clashes between private security at the site and demonstrators. Is this situation sustainable? What should happen?
Well, look, first of all, it's good to be on with you, Rev. It's good to see you. Thank you for having me. I I think one, I support protesters having the ability to peacefully protest and exercise their First Amendment right to do so. I will say that we need for people to stay peaceful, to understand what the focus is, and the focus is trying to make sure that we are bringing light to the situation happening in Delaney Hall and ultimately having this detention center closed. And I think we have to continue to focus on that point and not get distracted or feed into what DHS and officials of ICE want us to do, which is to, feed into their drama so that they can become more violent and hurt people. And we do not want that.
Earlier this week at a House committee hearing,
And Trump don't want to fund this for $70 billion
after touring the facility with Leader Jeffries last weekend,
or $1 million.
outlined accounts by detainees of green and rotten food, black mold shower stalls, horrific accounts about detainees getting dumped into solitary confinement, and 2 women who miscarried but were dismissed as psych cases. Then you presented a list of demands for fixing these conditions. What were the most important of these demands, and do you see any signs the administration is serious about addressing them?
Well, one, I think at the hearing, I wanted to ask the secretary, had he ever been to Delaney Hall to have an oversight visit? He is the secretary, and I believe it's his job to follow up regarding these, claims and these accounts and things that we have actually seen with our own eyes for him to do something about. But as you can see, the secretary has never been to Delaney Hall, but spent days talking about what's not happening inside of Delaney Hall. And I find that to be just hysterical, but also sad that the secretary has never been there, but continues to talk about what's not happening there. I think, secondly, this administration isn't doing anything about fixing the situation at Delaney Hall. It's a for-profit business. This is Geo Group. This is a $1 billion contract that this private operator has, and literally they are all about making money by detaining people. I think the number one thing that they should be doing is giving people due process. There's so many people who have been detained where their due process has been violated. Many people who have certain statuses that are in their high school students who have special status that are, detained, medically fragile people who are detained, people who have no record there, who should be released. And I think that's the least that they can be doing is respecting people's due process, but at the same time, treating people humanely. I mean, the things that are taking place in there is just awful. And I want to continue to remind Americans that this is what you are paying for. You are paying for the president to be able to treat people inhumanely, deny them food, starve them, deny them medical care. And this is not who America is, and they should not be operating like this.
Now, a great example of the atrocities in Delaney is Arianda Zumba, an 18-year-old high school student, was released this week after being detained for 2 months, missing both her prom and graduation. Can you talk about this case, and is it possible that we will see more releases like this?
Well, her case, first of all, I'm just so thankful that she was released. I mean, once again, a high school student picked up no record at all, had a no further action order from a immigration judge, but literally was detained in Delaney Hall for over 2 months. The school offered to give her virtual learning so that she can graduate on time. Delaney Hall and ICE officials denied her access for that. And, at the end of the day, it's just awful. These are children. Even though they just recently turned 18, it is still wrong, Rev, what they are doing. And so we were grateful to have her released along with the 2 pregnant women who miscarried in the facility, as well as a handicapped gentleman who was there, who was being isolated for months. We were happy to see these releases happen, and I think we're going to continue to work hard to be focused, one, on getting folks released.
Place need to be closed. I'm gonna shut it off there with the TV interviews.
Come home and for this young lady to, try to get back.
Again, JB's personal perspective. I just like to say that Trump is outrageous with the things that he's doing, They trying to steal elections. I mean, the midterms. And people, we just got to get out here and vote. I mean, that's the only way that we'll defeat them, is for us to get out here and vote. I mean, the people that are that they saying don't really have the right to vote, you need to go and stand in them lines just like everybody else. They mainly trying to destroy the black vote. I mean, recently in the Supreme Court, they destroyed the black vote. They want to steal the seats, which we could disallow them from doing that. All we got to do is vote. I'm just going to say, the last thing that I'm going to say is we need to vote, people. Vote, vote, vote. Vote like we voted for Barack Obama twice, okay? That's the type of voting that we need to do. And I thank y'all for listening. This is JB's Personal Perspective, and I'll talk to y'all soon. I haven't been here in a while, but I wanted to gather some information before I went back on. I thank y'all for listening.